What's more offensive? What? What's more offensive, being offensive or just boring? Oh, okay. Okay, I figured out what we're talking about today. I wrote down, what is more offensive, being offensive or being just plain boring? And I think almost everybody, at the end of the day, unless they're looking to be offended, would probably rather somebody take some risk and say something crazy and say something exciting. Now, we're talking about stand-up comedy. I'm not talking about at the office. Maybe at the office, don't be offensive. But if I go to a show and I'm seeing somebody do stand-up and they're just squeaky clean and nothing's edgy and nothing bothers anybody and it's pretty funny, but it's kind of boring. I get bored fast as fuck, dude. There are people that can be super non-offensive and hilarious. I'm not saying there's not. Like Nate Bargatze's probably one of the best comics alive, and nothing he's ever said on stage that I've heard is even remotely offensive or derogatory or whatever. But he has a way to make it compelling. That being said, I think it's more offensive to be plain and boring and ask people to watch you talk into a microphone for an extended amount of time than it is for you to talk about having sex with your wife publicly. Like if your wife's cool with you talking about that. Now, if your wife's not cool, that's a whole different issue. But if your wife's okay with you making jokes about your sex life, and some people are slightly uncomfortable, but it's an interesting thing to say about that you have an interesting joke or an interesting story that involves sex, and people find sex offensive, I think that's that person's problem. And I don't think, first off, I don't think sex should be offensive. I think trying to gross people out for grossing people out's sake is rude, and I don't think you should do that. But if it makes half the room laugh, I don't give a fuck what you do. But I think the idea of going up on stage and just being kind of plain and boring and everything's safe is really, at the end of the day, just not that entertaining. Like, okay, if we have a variety of people, we have 100 people in the room, and I'm not going to name what different walks of life, but they're all different types of people. Like, everybody is a little different. And I have a joke that 75% of the room likes, and then another joke that 75% of the room likes, but 25% doesn't like it. If I have a variety of weird jokes, and some of them are offensive, and some of them aren't, and some of them are about this, and some of them are about that, let's say it's half and half for easy math. These 50 on the left all think joke A is funny, and these 50 on the right all think joke B is funny. Then that's okay. These people can be like, well, these people are laughing, and we'll switch it up. And maybe if I get perfect at comedy one day, which I don't think there's a perfect comic, but then maybe I can get 90 of them. But I think the goal being 100% of the room thinking everything I say is kind of funny for every joke is not cool. That being said, I have some jokes that's kind of the purpose of them. Like, I usually open with a joke that's like that because the jokes I usually open with, I think two of my opening jokes I think are some of the corniest jokes I've ever said. But almost everybody at least kind of chuckles. And it's not a killer joke. It's just like okay, this guy's silly. And then I can acknowledge, I understand that was a stupid joke. Now watch this. And then later on, I'll have another stupid joke, and I'll be like, y'all thought that first one was stupid. Check this out. And it works for me. But I've seen people that their whole set is that. Their whole set is, I don't want anything to bother somebody. So I'm going to come up here and very carefully say these words that nobody's going to be offended by. And then when I hit the punchline, if it goes right, we'll hear everybody at the same time go, ha, 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 ha. I'm not going for that. I'm okay with that. I'm going for that for my opener because I want to get everybody established. Get everybody in the room to go, okay, we're watching this guy. It's not going to be that bad. Then joke number 2, I'm going to lose 10% of the room. Joke number 3, I'm getting them back. That's how I like to do it. I'm not saying that's how everybody should do it. I just think if somebody pays to see you perform stand-up comedy, and I'm mostly talking to myself here and telling you why I'm doing what I'm doing, but if most people are in the room and they've paid, let's say, 1 to 3 hours of their income. So let's say your tickets are $15 and they make $15 an hour, or your tickets are $45 and they make $15 an hour. Either way, 1 to 3 hours of their money. That means they had to spend 1 to 3 hours of their time, hopefully doing something they don't mind doing, but most likely doing something they don't want to do, to earn money to pay you. If they have kids, they probably got a babysitter. They probably drove a little bit. They probably had to plan around it. They might have even taken an extra shower and got dressed for this. They've put some effort in to be here. If I go out there and I just give them fucking softballs all day, that's not worth their time. I'm not earning their money. If I go out there and I make most of them fucking wheeze and hold their stomach laughing, that is phenomenal. That being said, I'm not saying I do that every time. That's my goal, okay? I don't think I'm the greatest comic alive or anything, don't worry. But if I go in with that attitude of my goal is to make as many people as I can laugh as hard as I can, not my goal is to not offend, my end result's going to be better. You're going to have a better time. And if you're one of the people that doesn't, I'm sorry about your bad luck, but you came to the wrong show. That being said, I'm never working alone. There's a comic before me or a comic after me or a few comics before me or a few comics after me. You're going to see something you're going to like most likely. And if you came to a comedy show and you hated the whole thing, just, you learned. You go, maybe comedy shows at this venue with this type of lineup aren't for me. Doesn't mean comedy's not for you. Also, this is a fun one. It's a little bit of a tangent off to the side, but people tell me all the time, oh, I don't like stand-up comedy. And I'm like, how do you know? Like what have you seen a lot of it? And they go, oh yeah, I've seen enough to know I don't like it. I'm like, okay, who'd you see? And they tell me about the Netflix specials they watched. Guess what? I don't like watching the shit on TV that much either, because it's 100% better live. Comedy in person, in my opinion, is maybe the most entertaining thing you can watch. That or a really good wreck in NASCAR. But I think live music can be great and live music can be boring. But I think comedy, when done right, is almost never boring. It's not all great, but it's almost never boring. There's almost always something going on that's kind of compelling to watch. And most of the comics I know are pretty decent. Like, it's not like everybody's walking around being fucking terrible at comedy, not getting any laughs, and just, like, most people that stick to it for a year or two, I'm not saying they get great in a year or two. Like, I don't know anybody that's been doing it for less than 5 years that I would say is great. But I know a few people that are really fucking good that have been doing it for less than 5 years. Like, really fucking good. I mean, should not have to have a day job anymore. But the point is, it takes a little while, and people get better with time. But most people I know, once they hit about 2 years, they're pretty fucking good. Like, they'll entertain you. Like, you're not going to be bored. And I sometimes would even say a little bit of, once they get past nervousness, but not to a level of confidence where, like, their skill set is so good, they're, like, really confident that they know exactly what to do and they're so comfortable on stage. Somewhere in that middle ground, I think, is when people are their best. I think some of the best comics I've ever seen, or the best I've seen of the comic, is their phase where they're going from, I've been working really hard hoping this would happen, to this is happening and I have to fucking, now I'm the headliner, I have to entertain this room. I think that's the sweet spot. I think, like, I'll use Ralph Barboza as an example, and I'm not saying he's, like, fallen off or anything. I still think he's a funny comic. But I think peak Ralph Barboza was, I saw him live opening for Dan Soder maybe 6 months before his career started really popping. And I thought he was fucking hilarious, dude. He's great. I immediately followed him after the show. He had 1,200 followers on Instagram. And I thought it was great. And then he blew up right after that. I mean, fucking massively. Like, he had a Netflix special within 2 years, I think, at that time. But he blew up, and I saw a bunch of his stuff, and I was like, dude, this guy's really good. And I would see video clips from him doing different stuff that took place around that same time, and it was really good. And then he got just a tad better. There wasn't much better left, really. Like, it's hard to get much better than he was at that time. And then he got a little bit better, and I was like, holy shit. And I think that little bit better was already good, plus a little bit of pressure, but not enough to make him fucking crazy. And now, I mean, I haven't really watched this stuff lately. I'm sure it's great, but I've already kind of, I don't want to say lost interest, but I'm not going to check and see what Ralph's doing every week to see what his latest clip is or anything. I just, if it hits my feed, I watch it, and I still think he's very funny. But I do think he was funnier a year or two ago, and he's a very successful comic. And I don't think he's falling off at all. I think he's fine, but I think when he had to work for it a little bit, there was something about that. I'm not going to say neediness. First off, he has a very casual attitude about everything. He seems like he doesn't care. But there's something that the energy of not knowing if you're going to be able to make it gives you, and trying to make it, whatever make it means to you. There's something about that, like, almost desperation, but not to point where it's like gross, that makes people better. I don't know what it is, but I love it. It's a really cool thing. And it's kind of one of those, it fits into the category of a vibe. Like, it's like a thing where you're like, I can't really put my finger on it, but something is different about this guy. And I think when somebody doesn't care, they're like, oh, who gives a shit? I don't care if I make it or not. Then sometimes that has a nice thing. Like, I know a guy that I don't think his goal is professional comedian at all. He just fucking goes out there and acts like he doesn't give a shit. And I think he doesn't give a shit. And his jokes are still good, and half the time they're fucking amazing. And then the other half, it kind of doesn't work because he's not into it. He doesn't look into it. But then you have the people that try so hard that are like, hey, here's my jokes. And I think I've been both of them. I think I've been genuinely, like, different days of the week or different times in this path, I've come out and been way too excited to be there, and, like, maybe shown it a little too much, been a little too enthusiastic. But the reality is I'm always excited to be on stage. If I think it's going to suck because there's only 10 people in the room and it's a fucking giant room and they all look like they're in a bad mood, I'm not excited to get on stage, but once I'm up there, I'm excited to be there. I don't know how it works, but I love comedy. It's really fun. And I don't even remember what we were supposed to be talking about. I'll look down here, and was that crowd work? Oh, no, offensive versus boring. Okay, offensive versus boring. I guess I covered it and some other shit. I don't know if this is working. You let me know. Are we developing a nice little thing here? Like, are you enjoying these? Because so far this is all recorded in one day.